Welcome back to Chris and Retro, guys. Merry Christmas 2024. It's Christmas Eve. And I just want to get on here today and share a couple different things, just kind of, first of all, extend Merry Christmas to you and your family. And For our family, our belief system is this represents rebirth, represents new opportunity and hope in our lives spiritually. And I think that a lot of times, for me personally, I've gotten away from that as we get caught up in the grind. But one thing I think, regardless of our belief systems, that we can feel is a lot of stress this time of year. And I know I definitely feel that relative to, making sure everybody's, treated fairly. I got a large family, the pressures of timing and events and getting to places and balancing jobs and a show and many of other things, family requirements and things like that. And, for us this year, 2024 has been probably the most challenging year of my life, even beyond what 2017 and 16 with homelessness and everything else. Out of my recovery journey, this has been the most difficult year. And we get to these holiday seasons. I think that we are not mindful of what they are. They represent an awful lot in terms of pressure, sadness for many, and I'll touch on that a little bit. But I wanted to make sure I did talk a little bit about extend our sincere Merry Christmas, but on top of it, to recognize that we're all in different places in this holiday. For me, I have felt stressed through this season probably more than I do other seasons. I want to make sure that my children and my grandkids and those I love are treated fairly, and recognize that I care about them and care about them equally and individually. So that there's pressure with gifts and love that you can share. And I also recognize that in my own head, my perceptions of those things are not exactly what other people perceive. So sometimes I'm a little more sensitive to making sure they're okay when actually they were okay all along. So, I say that because we all come to the holiday seasons for different reasons, and it does bring different expectations depending on where you are in life. For us, we've got a lot going for us, and makes it so that we have the ability to course correct holiday seasons in ways others do not, and still to have it turn out. And if there's a measure of success, walking away going, that was nice. But I think for me, what I look at it also, because we've got a unique perspective, and I have a unique perspective personally, but also collectively as a family, in that there's a component that I have a tendency to walk by. And one of the things I've talked about before is with my journaling, the prayerful piece, is that a lot of times it'll be a thought of things I'm praying for, but I don't actually pray for it. And that spiritual piece, I don't connect the way it actually was intended to be. Same thing with the holiday season. That's really a hallmark and an anchor for a lot of things I believe personally and spiritually. I'll walk past it basically for the event that it is, and not really consider what it actually is and what we're supposed to be recognizing. So, we do the whole, let's think about baby Jesus thing and all that stuff, but we don't really understand what it represents for our faith, and those of us that have faith in God, and that being our higher power, for those that do have that as our higher power. Our children can be wound up with candy and excitement and everything else, and that also can add stress. Believe it or not, it's exciting, but it can be stressful, having kids not be grumpy and things along those lines. But there's another piece of it for those of us in recovery. Many of us find ourselves in bad situations. I've had holidays I've spent incarcerated. I've had holidays that I've spent in early recovery or fully intoxicated. I've had holidays that I was flat broke and trying to make it all work. I've had holidays that have caused me to be flat broke, like they did this year. We've had all kinds of things and all kinds of angles. But then there's those that I have, in Sam's situation, where she's found herself being able to participate in Christmas this year, but it was for a while tenuous. I mean, you may have just found yourself in a rehab facility trying to give your family and yourself that gift of recovery. But there's something really lonely and hollow about being in an institution, whether it's a hospital, if you're there with some other chronic illness, or if it's a rehab facility in any nature, whether it's a detox facility or a treatment facility or a halfway house or supportive living or whatever else, they all have different angles you look at. If you find yourself incarcerated waiting for a long-term sentence, if you find yourself in prison one more year, and it's another year down, or if you have a long-term prison sentence and you're not even sure if you're ever going to get out, all these things put us in different places, and the holidays seem to really amplify those things. So what I want to try to do tonight is give you some things that regardless of where you're at, to consider. And it does go back to the same old thing that I always talk about, and that is, what are you doing to fortify yourself first relative to the commitments you've made for you? For me, recovery, following my higher power and his what I believe the purpose he's created me to be, at the same time not falling back in the tendencies that I have as a human being to be aggressive and cause myself to problems in my life. At the same time, I have to love those that are struggling around me and not have everything be seen through my lens. If you are in those, so that fortification, the inventory that we take of ourselves today goes down through the list that we know already positive about ourselves, but also those things that we got to work on. And we can even work on those things. And Hallmark holidays like this are benchmarks in our walk. The second thing is to make sure that you understand that no matter where you are, if you are in a long-term prison sentence, and for whatever reason you have access to this, if you find yourself in any number of those treatment facilities that I provided, you're still alive. You're still moving forward and you have things to be grateful for. Even if your list is 2 things long, write them down. Write down what you're grateful for. Recognize that all is not lost. And if you can find a glimmer of hope in your story, please cling to that. One of the things that, especially in a rehab facility that we'll find ourselves in, is the never, ever, ever is going to ever, ever, ever be. And I can tell you that recovery absolutely is a miracle journey. It's a miraculous journey. There are things that happen for us that under no circumstances could we ever foresee. To my right on the wall with a thumbtack through it are a series of letters that were given to me from Sam when she first started her inpatient treatment facility where we had limited access. Her letters were full of despair and concern that she'd never see her children and all these things. And I've been there too, In fact, my last incarceration, I was getting letters about how much of a scumbag I was from people and how I ruined all these people's lives around me. The problem with that is I agreed with them. So if you're in a state where we're trying to get better and you're trying to fortify yourself and you've done this inventory to recognize you got some things that you can work on and things that are good about you, it's hard to be grateful. And it's hard to see hope and light and all those things when you also, the messages you're telling yourself sometimes are fortified by those around you. So what do you do when you're in these places of heavy despair? You do the next best thing, and that's not cliche. I mean, the next best thing could possibly be just working your program today as if it was any other day. It could be the greatest gift you give yourself is some kind of progress. Recently I found some progress in my life. I actually I shared it with somebody today. I'm not a bed maker. Man, my beds, I don't think I made a half dozen beds since I've been on my own. I'm an absolute disaster when it comes to making beds because it's the last freaking thing I want to do when I put my feet in the ground is do one more thing. But recently I've decided to start making my bed in the morning. And it's something that's a miracle even about that small thing. I'm making progress before I even hit the ground. My feet hit the ground. I've already done something that's progress. So now all day long when I'm walking by my bed, I don't have to think about making my bed. Or when I come home from a trip or come home from a work obligation, I come in and I don't have to make my bed. It's already made. And the house seems settled. I clean my house before our trips for business, and I travel a fair amount with work, and I will be more so this year. And as I travel, I come home and my house is settled. I'm not coming back into chaos that I left behind. The rubbish, the baggage and the mess that I've left is cleaned up before I leave, so I can come back into a home that's representative of the work that I'm doing. If you're in a jail cell, one of the big things I would always do is make sure that my cell was neat. Everything was put where it's supposed to be. It was something I could control. I would shower regularly if I could. Obviously, there's implications of that depending on the institution you're in. You have to be careful. But, I would make sure that I was taking care of me personally. I would do physical work, physical fitness. Physical fitness is a huge part of it. Rehabs, that's a big one, man. If you're in a rehab facility, we go to crap. I mean, one thing we'd be proud of is we're not skinny and drawn out anymore because all we're doing is, consuming our substance of choice. But you're also consuming a lot of other stuff and not doing an awful lot. So you put on a ton of weight in rehab. And that can be demoralizing. I would encourage you that maybe get in a basic fitness routine. You don't need a gym. For me in my jail, I would grab something in the last, this is the one I actually really did try to work on my fitness on. I do 500-600 squats a day. I do my lunges, same amount. I do about 300 push-ups a day. I do a bunch of, I grab onto something so I can get my lats and back all. I'd change the hand grip on it so I could get different levels of my back. I'd stretch every single day. I was working on me, and that would take time. That would be a lot of work that I could do to kind of really focus on me. And I at least felt good about how I looked then. I was at least not sitting around getting fatter and fatter, and my head was getting more and more messed up and all that stuff. So if you are putting on weight, that's a good thing. So take that as progress too. But if it's bothering you, do something about that. Make progress today with that. Try to do whatever you possibly can do to not focus on the things that you've lost or focus on the impact of those losses or focus on the things that got you there. All of those things are not productive thoughts for you. Think about what you can do to make progress today, even with the heaviness of missing out on what should be a celebration. I don't know about you too, though. I mean, there's a lot of stress in not being in those situations. You know, we find ourselves going through the holidays, and even without all that stuff where you're being removed, to be in it has a lot of stress too if your mind is not correct. So I think for all of us, regardless of where you find yourself either in or out of an institution, if you find yourself on a path of recovery or never had a substance use issue at all, and you're just feeling the financial stress, or you've lost a job recently, or your relationship has struggled, a big one for families is split families. Oof. Logistics on holidays, especially early on in a divorce, is an absolute nightmare. I'd almost rather be back in jail, honestly, because that is a pain in the butt. And I'm sure that for those of you that are early on in your divorces or had them for a while, even after a while, they're still a pain in the butt. You probably sit back going, "Amen." I probably just almost like I was preaching to you guys. You probably standing somewhere giving me a hallelujah. You know, that can be a real nightmare. All of these things are distractions for something that we should just take a minute, pause. And if your higher power is God, recognize where that whole system immerses in this holiday season. It was the ultimate sacrifice for what we believe in. It was the birth of where that ultimate sacrifice would come from. It was a child in a miraculous birth for us. For you, it may be just a holiday where you're around families, where you're celebrating loved ones, where you're getting together as adults and maybe leaving the kids to do something else. You're hanging out with your friends and just having a moment where, you know, this feels good to just let your hair down. If you're a college student, you're back from college and you don't have any courses anymore and you're just chilling out with friends, that's cool too. You know, that's something you can do. If you're wrapping the presents, for me, I hate wrapping presents. Hate it. Find people that can help you do the work. My 21-year-old daughter, man, she's a rapaholic. I swear to God, I'm so glad she helps a lot with that. Sam loves to rap. Thank God. I hate rapping. But, you know, embrace the things that people can do to help you make your holiday season beneficial without having everybody else do your work. Do small things. If you don't have a lot to give to those, give them your love through other things. Make breakfast for somebody. Write a note. Handwritten notes. We've gotten so far away from handwritten notes. Guys, what I'm trying to express to you is that no matter where you're at right now, no matter what despair is over your head, these letters I look at and where Sam's head was at months ago, man, her head's not there anymore. And it's because of the work she's done every single day to get where she's at now. Same thing for you. Now, that's not to say in the last week we've not had despair. I did a gut punch video that really was a lot of despair, especially for the holiday. You know, I look back on my experiences with holiday seasons in my worst days, and they were horrible, absolutely horrible, and very triggering today. Even when I see other people go through them, I feel them differently than others do, and perhaps you do too. Maybe you see somebody struggling, and it's triggering some things that happen in your life. I don't know what that label is. I'm sure we call it PTSD, trauma, whatever you want to call it, but there's still things that we feel, and you don't have to have a label for it to feel it. You also don't have to have a label for it to move beyond it. If you're struggling, if you're an audience member of mine and you're struggling tonight or today or tomorrow or wherever season of struggle you're in, I am a fellow traveler for you. I come on the channel, and there are optics that you get from me on this channel because I want to offer hope and help. But I can tell you that in a day, in 24 hours, I'll have struggles, things that are in my head that I need to work through. There's a lot of content creators that are out here. I know a few of them that are very funny, but also have taken a minute to pause to talk about their story and some mental health issues they're having and some other struggles in their life. We have loss. We have loved ones lost. We have people that we love that are struggling heavily with addiction or mental health issues. We have some that have lost jobs. We've had people that are sick. We have all these things. There's so many reasons that to struggle in this holiday season. But what's interesting is that it becomes worse because of the holiday, when in fact they're things we're dealing with all year long anyway. So for today, yes, you have all those things. And in some cases, they can be pronounced because of the holiday season. But at least you have the benefits of the holiday season where you can at least have something more positive. So find those lanes. Even if some of these things are more painful for you, find some of the things that you can participate in that are not available for you the rest of the year to embrace and enjoy. For those in addiction, one of the biggest things you get to do to give back, to keep your addiction, is to give back to somebody else. I can almost guarantee you, no matter what you're going through, you're able to, without a lot of work, find somebody that's at least equally struggling and perhaps worse. A lot of kids out there struggling this season, big time. A lot of disappointment and heartache. A lot of peer pressure in school after that disappointment and heartache. There's plenty of hurting people out there that you can invest in to get outside your own head. It'll heal you too. From my home to yours, Merry Christmas. Thank you guys for tuning in the channel. We continue to grow with subscriptions, and I'm so thankful. I did a few modifications. You probably have seen it with a lot more content and shorts, but it is shockingly improving the performance of the channel. And for me, I'm incredibly grateful, because all I want to do is make sure that you understand that I've been where you're at, and there's ways to get beyond it. And hopefully the information I'm sharing with you can at least give you one snippet that makes you sit back and go, I can do this. I can do it. I'm not the only one. It's not me against the world. There's other people that have gone through this too. I'm one. Sam's another one. We struggle, and you will too. Nobody said it was going to be easy, and nobody said it was going to get easier, and sometimes it gets worse. But there's still always something that you can hang on to that's positive. And for this holiday season, there's plenty to be positive about. Cling to that. Let the rest of it just be what it is. Accept that it's there. Nothing you can do to change it right now. Find something that you can improve your situation today. Because especially if you're in an institution, you're around a whole bunch of other people that are probably feeling the same way you are. Maybe that in that community, you guys can lift each other up and have a positive day. Maybe the most positive day that you've had while you're there. I haven't seen that happen. Maybe you can be a catalyst for it. Because when I was in those places, I was a big old grump, and I was out for a fight. You guys can possibly be the agent of change, even in the community that you're in, no matter where that is. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Share this content if it works for you, and if somebody else could use to hear it. Comment, share your perspectives on it. Use my platform to share your voice as well. Thanks, guys. And throughout the holiday season, tune in. There's content pre-scheduled and other things that'll be out there. See if there's anything in here that encourages you. If you got something you'd like me to cover, please feel free to send me an email at chris@chrisandretro.com. Between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to do every single thing I can do to stay out of trouble. I'm going to wrap as few presents as I can wrap. I'm actually going to try to pawn that off on the advantage of 5 kids. You can always find somebody that'll do something for you. And I hope you stay out of trouble too.